size of their workforce. Meanwhile, it was actually at that point fairly easy for the city of Portland to hire police officers. There were agencies all over California that were laying off police officers because of their budget situation. So even though we reduced the workforce on paper, it was not that hard then to recruit new officers. Since then, frankly, everything's changed. Police agencies all over the country are struggling to hire police officers. I think the number of vacancies statewide in Oregon is something like 250 to 300. There are agencies, particularly here in the Northwest, like Kennewick, that are offering salaries well above what we pay in Portland. So back in March, when I gave my State of the City speech, I indicated that I wanted to open this agreement because we needed to be competitive. It's a basic employer question of if you can't hire people, what do you need to do? One thing we did was add more background investigators, and we're working to speed up that process. And the other thing we need to do is raise our starting salary and our pay so that we are competitive, that people don't want to leave, and that people want to leave other departments and come to work for us. So that's the main reason why we opened this agreement. There's some other issues on the table that we wanted to address. One, the Portland Police Association had filed grievances against a number of policies that the city was implementing, like changing our shift system to better serve the community and deal with the fact that we were down in the workforce, like a new discipline policy that we believe is the right thing to do, and that also responds to our community's need to make sure that we are an accountable police bureau, like body-worn cameras and like the question of multiple independent police review investigators had investigations. They'd actually filed 11 grievances, and we wanted to get those resolved. And then we have the 48-hour rule, which is a relic of an earlier time and a problem for the police bureau, that we believed that it was time to get rid of the 48-hour rule. The agreement in front of us sweeps away all those grievances, gets rid of the 48-hour rule, and pays people more. That's what it does. I believe it's the right thing to do. I want to again appreciate the 6 months of work that you and your team have put into negotiating this, and let you walk us through any other particulars of this that I've missed.
Great, thank you, Mayor Hales, Commissioners, Ann Kennewick, Director of the Bureau of Human Resources. As Mayor Hales said, the ordinance before you today asks Council to ratify a tentative agreement between the Portland Police Association and the City of Portland. The tentative agreement was ratified by the Portland Police Association at a 95% approval rate. Daryl Turner, the president of the association, will speak for a brief amount of time when I'm finished this morning. It's ratified by Council. This agreement will be in place until June 30th, 2020. This tentative agreement does accomplish several key goals and creates a multi-pronged approach to addressing our serious staffing issues, as the mayor noted. It will move the Bureau forward, make us a competitive police agency in what has become an incredibly competitive environment nationwide in terms of most agencies being down with staffing and trying to recruit for police officers. As you noted, it removes language in the contract requiring a 48-hour advance notice to officers before an initial interview. This has been a key objective for the Department of Justice as part of the settlement agreement with the city as well as others. The tentative agreement also includes agreement to a draft body-worn camera policy, recognizing the public input that has gone into this policy already, but also memorializing the Portland Police Association Police Bureau agreement to present the policy for further public overview prior to finalization. While we do not have body cameras yet, having a policy in place positions the Bureau well in terms of being able to move forward with that once that happens, rather than purchase equipment and then try to craft a well-reasoned policy. As noted, Mayor Hales, with the tentative agreement, the Portland Police Association has agreed to withdraw 11 grievances and agreed to a settlement of 1. Many of these, or all of these, are in the interest of the city, because when we go to arbitration, it is a third party that ultimately makes the decision and removes control from the city. Several of them, as you mentioned, could have significant impacts on the police bureau's ability to continue some important changes. You mentioned the 5-shift configuration, the outside rotational support, the staff agreements, all, if the city did not prevail in arbitration, could again have a significant impact on the Bureau's ability to continue staffing. The discipline grievance that was withdrawn as well also paves the way to put in place the discipline matrix, which again has been a component of our settlement agreement with the Department of Justice. One of the things that the Port Association has agreed to, which is beneficial to its members, to the Bureau, to the city, is moving to a city self-insured plan, which is different from their current insured program. This will reduce costs to the Bureau, and also they have, the Portland Police Association has agreed to a wellness component in that plan that requires a member to visit a treatment provider at least once every 2 years in order to retain a 5% premium share. If they do not do that, the premium share moves to 10%. Well, this doesn't sound like a lot. The import of this is that we know if individuals have a relationship with a treatment provider, they're more likely to disclose conditions, have earlier treatment, which is, of course, excellent for the individual, but also in the end keeps the city's costs down for our self-insured health insurance program. A great concern, as you mentioned, Mayor Hales, is the ability to attract and retain qualified police officers. This is a competitive market. And what we are looking at is an increased complexity of work, increased calls, rightfully so, for transparency and accountability, expectations that are also correct and right around new ways to work with mentally ill individuals in the community, and increased community presence. So we want to be able to recruit officers who embrace and thrive doing police work in this environment and these working conditions. Not to say we don't have officers who do that already, but that, as we do our recruitment efforts, will be the type of people that we are looking for, and that is extremely critical. And again, we're not the only police agency looking for that skill set. The tentative agreement reduces the probationary period for lateral hires. Right now, that is the same as a level officer at 18 months, reduces it to 12. Not surprisingly, asking an experienced officer to come to the city of Portland and then have a year and a half on probation really has been too big an ask, and we are not competitive there. It creates incentives for new officers, lateral officers to join the Bureau, market incentives, as well as what we've termed the finder's fee for officers who bring candidates into the Bureau. The tentative agreement also implements a new retire, rehire program. That is also a key component in terms of what is a multi-pronged approach to addressing the staffing issues. Currently, police officers who retire from the city of Portland often go to work for another agency. They were prohibited from doing so under our current contract. This opens that up, and the hope is that many will stay post-retirement, which again helps fill that gap. And given the high numbers of eligible officers to retire, this again is a key component of our overarching staffing plan. The tentative agreement obligates both the union and the city to discuss implementation of the Community Service Officer Program. This is a program that has more routine work being performed by the community service officers, leaving our more experienced and trained police officers to do the work that we think is much more important. Going out to the communities, doing active, proactive police work rather than simply responding to calls and writing low-level tickets. We also are obligating ourselves to discuss implementation of a student loan reimbursement program. Again, this is a national problem with the crushing debt that so many students are facing. A student loan reimbursement program for new hires would be another tool in our toolkit in order to increase our ability to be the agency that is most competitive in terms of bringing in new qualified officers to the city of Portland. Tentative agreement, as you mentioned, Mayor Hales, moves the entry rate of police officers to our current 6-month rate. Right now, the Police Bureau has the lowest entry rate in the state, despite the fact that we have the most complex policing in the city of Portland, and it has been a barrier to our ability to attract new officers. The tentative agreement also adds 3 steps over the course of 3 years, with an additional 3% between the steps, which means officers will top out after 8 years instead of 5. We believe this is also a very important component, again, in our multi-pronged approach to address the staffing issues in order to make the pay for our officers very competitive with the rest of the Western region and the country. When fully implemented, the ongoing cost of the agreement without adding in the cost of living is $6.6 million. While this is by no means an insignificant number, the staffing issues are also not insignificant. The public work session on police staffing painted a very bleak picture. Decreased staffing impacts response time. Decreased staffing impacts the ability to connect with our communities. Officers have been less able to attend community meetings or simply stop to engage with children in the community because of the need to respond, of course, to the most critical calls. Decreased staffing will lead to decreased crime, probably most likely in our most vulnerable neighborhoods. The tentative agreement is a balanced agreement designed to address, again, as I said, our most pressing problems, and will position the city and the Bureau well to be a competitive and attractive agency. This is also the agreement a result and a model of collaboration to meet the needs of both the city and police.
Thank you. Questions?
I just have a clarification question. In the findings in the ordinance number 11, it says that it refers to the public process to discuss body-worn camera policies. But then in the last sentence says, following this public review and comment process, the Portland Police Association and the Portland Police Bureau will meet to discuss finalization of the body-worn camera policy. So would it still have to come back to council?
I don't know, actually.
I think that's
I don't
right.
think so.
Policies
Because the
generally
policy is separate.
are dictated by the chief. They have to be, in some cases they have to be bargained, in some cases they aren't, because they don't fit the council.
So the commissioner in charge of the police bureau would be working with the police chief.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to have a public process about body-worn camera policy.
Then it's the commissioner in charge who signs off on the chief. Thank you for that clarification. There was also a discussion of community service officers who might, I don't know if you
You did mention that. Yeah, that is in the proposed contract. Yes.
Yes.
and I'm actually not finding the tuition reimbursement for new recruits.
No, it's in the contract as well.
Or later, if you could just point
Yes,
us
yes,
in the right direction.
I will
Thank you.
find the page for you. It is there. Thank you.
Yeah, both of those suggestions that were good ones, I appreciate those are in the proposed contract.
Thank
So
you.
for anybody who was wondering, those are suggestions that Commissioner Fritz made about both the tuition reimbursement incentive for officers that we're recruiting and the use of what are called community service officers done in other cities where they're public safety officers, they're not armed, but they're allowed to do some police work that otherwise would be performed by police officers, basically stretching the resources that we have. Eugene uses them, for example. Okay, other questions from Ann, or points that you wanted to add?
So then Daryl Turner is going to come.
Okay, so yeah, we'll hear from the Portland Police Association, and we'll take public